All right, we're here with Trevor Bauer of the Cincinnati Reds. Let's just start there because Dallas is wearing a shirt with you on it, which is basically a parody of the whole Uncle Rico thing. I bet I can throw a football over the mountains.
Yep.
You did try to throw a baseball over the mountains.
Let me correct
Successfully
you.
threw him over the mountains. Take us back to that day. I want to get right into that because Tito, anytime that we have someone on that either currently plays for Terry Francona or previously played for Terry Francona, we ask for their favorite Terry Francona story, and they have to skip past like the first 50 to be able to give you like an actual story that they can tell on a podcast. Take me back to that day because obviously he was pissed, but was there a moment where he was like, "All right, you're an idiot"?
No moment like that. Just pure fury. Yeah, there was no redemption for me that day.
Yeah.
Not at all. So actually, the start before is when the story starts. I was in Toronto and I got super sick the morning of that start. And somehow pitched, did okay, and then stayed up all that night, shivering. I was just a wreck. Didn't eat for a couple days. I don't know what happened to me. So leading up to the start in Kansas City, I had been sent home from the field 3 or 4 straight days. Before the game, I threw a bullpen kind of, but not really, and I was just super weak. And I take a bunch of daily measurements of myself. And on that morning of the Kansas City start, all of my measurements were an all-time low. And I really shouldn't have pitched that day. But I pride myself on taking the ball because there was a start a couple years back where I got food poisoning, didn't take the ball. TJ House had to pick up my start. He ends up tweaking his shoulder because he wasn't on routine that day, and I feel terrible about that. And so I took the ball, I went out there, pitched, and then just everything that could possibly go wrong just went wrong. And it was kind of the culmination of that had been happening all season to me, and I was just super frustrated. So when I saw him coming out and I was done and just blacked out and
How many times have you played that moment over in your head, either before that ever happened or immediately after? Was there whoops, yeah, I just did that. That happened.
Yeah, I played it over in my head multiple times before it happened, just over the years. I think everybody's just kind of dreamed of just eating a ball out of the stadium.
I was standing up and audibly cheering. It was the greatest fucking thing I have seen, Trevor. I mean, brother, come on, dude. Like you said, we think about being able to do that. That's the like you said, the blackout moment. Here he comes, shit's going south. Fuck it, I'm drilling the beer vendor guy out there in section, and you just let it eat. There is nobody that has thrown a baseball that wasn't your biggest fan that
100%.
day.
I know a couple guys in the Kansas City bullpen, and that was the discussion for the next 3 days. Was who could actually get it out of center field? And they're just ripping on each other because no, you couldn't do that. Oh, yes, I could. And it's just that bullpen discussion,
Well, that's part of it too. Is if you do that, you have to get it over the fence.
Absolutely.
You cannot short off the wall.
That
would have been, yes.
Yeah, the worst possible outcome is it just bangs halfway up the wall and stays in.
Yeah.
Yeah. I never actually saw where it landed, so hopefully, yeah. I heard it got out.
What did Tito say?
No, you're good.
I don't know. We were about 3 inches away from each other's face, and there was Tito bombs involved. He chews his gum and whatever else, and spraying everywhere, and fury, and just stood there and wore it all, and was like, "Yep, I was wrong, absolutely, and you have every right to yell at me right now." So,
because you obviously didn't mean it as disrespect to him, but from the outside perspective, all the old timers are gonna be like, that's disrespectful to the manager. Blah, blah.
Of course, and that was the first thing I said. After I did it, I was in the dugout and I waited for Oscar Mercado to come in because earlier that inning there's a fly ball to hit to center. It got lost in the sun. He tried everything he could to fight it off and shielding himself, and it's just one of those ones that you're just never gonna catch. And I realized the first thought that went through my head right after I did that was, oh shoot, I hope I just showed Oscar up, and that's not at all what I was I was not that I was trying to do anything, but that's the last thing that I want to come of this, Yeah. So I waited in the dugout and I was like, hey man, I'm so sorry. Like I know how that looks. Like I'm going to tell the media that, after that's my bad. Like that is not to you at all. I'm sorry. And, I apologize to the team after and apologize to the media. And, it's just one of those things. But yeah, in the moment, I just blacked out. I was so frustrated with not even being taken out, Like it wasn't anything to do with Tito coming and getting me. It was just like, man, I tried everything in my power, and like I couldn't get mad with everything that was going on. Normally, I give up a couple hits like that, and I get really mad. My stuff gets better, and I'm able to get out of it. But I was so sick going into that game that I couldn't even have that like anger response to get me out of it, and that's what was the most frustrating thing to me. Is like, man, it's gotten so bad that I can't even get mad about it.
Right. I guess it's even more impressive that he cleared the wall when he was sick. I can't even I'm such a baby when I'm sick.
That's it. I don't think there's any doubt that was probably the best. That was the best executed pitch of the day. Is there any debating that?
No doubt. I think it came out like 103 or something. they did a StatCast. There's StatCast data on it. But yeah,
they did
spin efficiency.
See, all right. So
there's a picture out there. You should try to find it. There's a StatCast picture of the exit velo and the launch angle.
Exit
and everything.
velo, apex.
So,
yes,
you're one of the guys in the game right now that you're in the content game while you're an active player. And while in the moment as a pitcher, and like there's obviously the discussion, like the Cleveland media talking about like disrespecting Tito or whatever. That was the most viral clip of the day from that day.
No doubt.
And it wasn't like a baseball moment. It was a Trevor Bauer moment. And Trevor Bauer moments go viral. Like that's what you do. Like you're a crazy person. But like I mean that in the most endearing way possible because you are, I guess, like your personality type is what the game needs.
Yes.
Like you're almost like if Dallas actually did, if you were to plot me in Major League Baseball, like I would be doing the shit that you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Like I would be saying the stuff that you say. How badly does the game need, not to like, pump your tires, but like how badly does the game need more people like Trevor Bauer?
So badly, man. I mean, and it's not just me. There's plenty of people that are doing it, but like Tim Anderson is great.
Yeah.
I think everything about Tim is great. And there's plenty more guys around the league, but like these are the things that need to be celebrated.
Right.
These are the people that need to be talked about, need to be posted on social media, need to be encouraged to bat flip. And I mean, I thought the whole Juan Soto thing and Alex Bregman thing in the World Series was just fantastic, right? Bregman does something. First, I got to vent about bat flips for a second.
Okay.
And all the people that
do it,
all the people that dislike bat flips, like it is hard to hit a homer in the big leagues.
Yeah.
And if you crush a ball, like celebrate it. That's not disrespectful to the pitcher in my eyes the vast majority of the time. It's like I hit it and, man, I got it, and I'm celebrating a feat that I accomplished or, for the team or whatever. Now, there are certain times where it is meant as disrespect to the pitcher,
yeah,
and then that's fine.
Down.
But, like, when that's the case,
right.
So anyway,
yes.
Alex hits the home run, and it's this big moment, and carries the bat to first. Never seen that before. And then Soto comes up and just, I don't know if I've seen a ball hit that far.
Yeah.
He just absolutely murdered that. It was unbelievable, right? And then does the same thing. And I'm like, this is so awesome. Because in the NBA, someone breaks someone's ankles or dunks on him, right?
Yeah.
And then the next play, they're right up against each other again. And there's that face-to-face confrontation. In the NFL, someone scores a touchdown and dances on you, and the next play you just annihilate him and you stand over him. Like there's that. Hockey's the same way. All these other sports, there's that like confrontation moment, and this is the closest thing that we got to that like confrontation moment in baseball, and it was awesome. And then, of course, the PR people get involved. Not the PR people are bad, but the teams want to quiet all this stuff down, all the noise down, and then there's an apology, and then the whole thing dies.
But only Bregman apologized. Soto was like, I saw Bregman do it, and I thought it was fun, so I did
it.
Which
was great.
That was the best.
That was the best part.
That was the best
Soto
part
handled it
because
perfectly. Bregman was like, I'm sorry.
Right,
like
you
it was disrespect
you got
to
Bregman.
the game.
Yes.
I think Bregman saw the reaction on social because there were like former players that were crushing him.
What happens
for it,
is,
and media was crushing.
What happens
for
is
it.
Bregman gets.
Yeah, he wanted to like regain the respect of his peers and the veterans or whatever.
He gets
Soto
told
like,
exactly. He gets
cool,
told by his team. He gets told by his team. He gets told by other guys. Like, and remember, and we'll get into the weeds on this, but I even raised this idea, Trev. I even raised this. You remember the clip of Altuve kind of putting his arm around Bregman right after that moment, kind of like telling him, like, hey, look, man, and we don't know what that conversation was. Yep. I have a theory that conversation was probably somewhere along the lines of this. Hey, between you and me, we have a pretty good idea of what's going on here. Between you and me, let's not shine any more lights on us and what's going on. Let's just kind of let the noise create itself. You know what I mean? Like, let's not bring the optics right to us. You know what I mean? Let's not do that. I think that conversation probably had a little tinge of that as well. But to the point, Bregman gets up there, reacts, says what he does to defend himself, and then Soto, the purest, most genuine dude going that day, gets up on stage on the field and is like, yeah, I saw him do it, and I thought, that was pretty cool. I want to do that too. And that's coming from one of the youngest, most talented players in our game. Let that attitude ride. I gotta, let me know if you're on board with this. Let me know if you're on board with this theory. The soft tossers, the low punch out guys, those are the guys that need to possess the absolute best post punch out celebration. Why? Because it's kind of like hitting a home run. Like, they're going to celebrate the dude who hits 3 jacks, right? The guy who hits 3 jacks in a game, every one of those bat flips better be fucking sexual. So for the guy like me, who would be really lucky to get that 3rd or 4th punch out, I need every one of those celebrations to be on point. I'm talking Jose Valverde, Papa Grande-esque, letting you know that I am the most dynamic dancer on the fucking bump. Are we on board with that?
I'm on board with that. Would you somersault? Aroldis Chapman somersault? Is that in your bag of tricks?
I mean, I could probably do it on my feet. I'm not going to lie. I don't need to involve Mother Earth. I can clear that loop. But absolutely, anything and everything you need to do to get the excitement going. And that, to your point, it's celebrating those small victories within the game, because we don't have that opportunity to line up right after you just burnt me on a post route or something like that. I don't have that retribution readily available. So I'm going to dress this up and make it a showcase.
Yeah, absolutely. And those are the clips that go viral, right? Like the Tim Anderson bat flip thing. He didn't apologize for it. He owned it, and that was talked about for a week,
right?
A full week, and it was great for baseball. I think it's changing, but there's still that old guard that will have those moments like, hey man, you can't, don't do that, or it's negative press for the team, or just play the game this way. And
I'm pretty sure Justin Verlander in that at bat to Juan Soto, when he did like the shuffle, was like, yeah, not to me. Like, you're not doing that shit to me. And then he was like, all right, fine, I'll just hit a fucking 800-foot bomb.
Yeah, he buzzed him. He buzzed him, and when Soto didn't give him the power take, and Soto has talked about, that sort of give and take of respect based on who you are and what the back of your card looks like. Soto is doing his homework, and he's like, oh no, 10 plus years, couple Cy Young. I'm not going to dress him. Oh, actually, did that fastball just, fuck him. He's getting the fucking power take. He's getting the fucking ball. Trev, I got to ask you about this, because we're talking about the changing of the guard and shit. You are obviously at the forefront of some of the most progressive and forward-thinking approaches on the mound. You are, I don't want to call you a product of, you are entrenched within and a part of the foundation of what I refer to as velocity farms, Driveline being one of them. Your good friend, your instructor at times, your business partner, is now your pitching coach.
Yes.
So before we get into whether or not you guys are going to sleep in bunk beds together, I want to ask you, what was that feeling like watching that transition for him occur, going from Driveline 1.0, Driveline 2.0, now here he is taking his Bauer measurements into the world of baseball in a role which he was very vocal about saying, I'm not going into baseball unless it's in this role. And we're talking about Kyle Bodie. Is that how you say his fucking last name?
Crushed it. Yeah, so
thank you.
Man, that story is. So I started with Kyle in 2013, and he had 4 clients, I think, 3 clients. I was the first pro guy, and it was in. I mean, shoot, the cage they were throwing in was in an attic in a separate facility that they were sharing, and it was maybe 60 feet long, like barely enough to get a mound in there, but no catcher for sure. They had one squat rack kind of in the corner where they could, make it fit, but they had to bring the weights up the stairs every time they're going to use it. And it went from that to I think the 3rd or 5th fastest growing company in the state of Washington in 6 years, and now he's in professional baseball. He started off only wanting to work in professional baseball, and one of the biggest turning points, I think, when we look back in history, one of the biggest turning points is the Rays did not offer him or did not hire him in 2013 or 14 or whenever that was.
Yeah.
And then I used to tell him all the time, like, man, you do not want to get involved in pro baseball. It's not the place to be. And he was adamant against it. A couple of years later, he's like, no, I understand now. I want nothing to do with pro baseball. And now we've kind of come full circle to where he's like, no, you know what? I think there is something to accomplish in baseball. But he's being brought in a role, like you said, that he'll be able to do what he knows how to do and run his system. And we'll see if it works or not. And I'm super confident in it, obviously. I spend my entire offseason up there every year. So yeah, it's exciting to be involved in the organization that's going that route and hopefully help out in some way and see it be successful.
You know, we talked about you.
And can we get Can we get an answer on the bunk beds?
Oh yeah,
bunk beds. I don't know about bunk beds. I think he's going to be based in Arizona and traveling, and I'm going to be hopefully based in Cincinnati. But
I think you got a good shot.
One thing I'm super excited for, and I've been joking with him all the time, is his first day in spring camp when he has to wear a full uniform. I'm gonna have infinite
Bodie body,
infinite pictures of that. We have a Snapchat group that with all the Driveline guys. I'm gonna create 100 stickers and just put the Bodie uniform on the Snapchat sticker.
I cannot wait.
Yeah,
I cannot wait.
We talked about you and your personality in the game, and obviously you're a big figure on social media. How many backflips have you been doing over this whole Astros thing? Because you're one of the most vocal, active players about the Houston Astros and what they've been up to.
Yeah, I had a back spasm a couple days ago, so
yeah.
Backflips sound terrible right now. But it's been a fun couple days. Just
because you heard about like the buzzers years ago, right? Was it?
Yeah. I've been hearing rumors about that. I need to preface it by saying that I don't know firsthand if it's true or not.
Sure.
Like I don't, but I've heard from 3 independent sources that are not related to each other that it's true, that they've heard it and it's a real thing. So that's kind of where I stand on the buzzers. But I started hearing that 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I've heard stuff from the Red Sox when they played the Astros in 2018 ALCS, right?
Yeah, because the Indians and Red Sox were like allies and all that, because the Indians played the Astros in the division series.
They had a guy videoing our dugout.
The Astros had an employee videoing the Indians' dugout, and then in the ALCS, the Indians warned the Red Sox about it. They caught the guy. Major League Baseball investigated it, and when they caught him, their conclusion was the Astros employee was only taking pictures of the Red Sox dugout to make sure that the Red Sox weren't cheating. Are you fucking kidding me?
Gotta do your due diligence.
Now that we know kind of what we know that's come out, it makes sense why those 2 teams would be going back and forth and like checking each other for cheating, and they knew all of it.
Sure.
That like
there's a common denominator.
Yeah.
But the whole like
they know what they're looking for.
The whole investigated thing just has to be put in quotes. Like, how do you find that this employee of the Astros with an Astros media badge videoing the opposing team's dugout? Like, how does that not? I don't care why you're videoing their dugout.
Yeah.
How do you not find anything there? Like,
right.
That's not legal. What are we talking about?
Yeah.
You're not supposed to be doing that.
And my question the entire time on that whole situation was, if they're this brazen, that this is just out in the open, that they don't care about hiding this, what do they actually care about hiding?
Right.
What's the extent that they'll go that they actually like, hey man, we need to keep this behind closed doors?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what raises my eyebrows, is how does the threat of talking about what the owners heard on the phone call actually present a larger scale punishment should you go forward and be vocal about what that phone call said? That's one of the most, like, excuse me? You're telling me that if, as a team, I start to come forward and talk about what was said on that phone call, you're going to bang me even harder than what the Astros and maybe Red Sox are going to get banged for what they did? Me talking about like what? That's what's scary, Trev. That's what they're hiding. I want to ask you, what do you think about, and is there a thought to a guy like Mike Fiers being alienated within our group, or is it more of a like behind closed doors? Hey, brother, it's about fucking time somebody said something.
What's your take on it? I'd be interested to hear your take first.
I am of, look, dude, we can all admit how difficult it would be to be sort of forced into a scenario where you are then forced to either say something or become complicit, right? And that is a very, very tough line to walk, because you don't want to sell your teammates out. You don't want to sell an organization out. At the same time, you want to be able to go to bed and wake up and look that man in the mirror each and every day. And I think for me, that's where I would fall is, look, if this is what's going on and this is how we're going about it, I don't know that I can comply. I don't know that I can just stand idly by, because I am a big fan of being able to wake up and look myself in the mirror. And that's just, I think that's how I go. But again, everybody can say that until you're faced with that,
no
scenario.
doubt. And I'm in agreement on that. I think there's some takes that are like, oh, he should have come out earlier. If he really cared about cleaning up the game, he would have come out in 2017 when it was happening and stuff like that. People who are saying that clearly have never been in a clubhouse or involved in a team.
No.
If he would have done that, like, not only would he have never played again and been blackballed, but like a pariah, like just drugged through the mud. And so that's his job. That's his livelihood. That's his, his family, or, if he has a family. I'm not sure about his personal life or anything, but like, it's just all gone. You literally can't do that. But I think there is a lot to be said, and I'm the same way with, like, I want to wake up and look myself in the mirror and feel good about myself and feel good about what I am as a person. There's certain things that I'm just not willing to compromise for the game of baseball, and there's personal integrity that's on that list. And there's, I think that behind closed doors, all the players can be like, hey man, like, we all knew this. Thanks for standing up. Thanks for saying something. I talked to probably 10 plus players yesterday, and a couple of them were, saying that same thing. Like, hey, look, I can't say anything about this. I can't be vocal about it because of the point that I'm at in my career, but thank you for being vocal and saying something. I have a little bit of leeway to be able to do that because of my standing in the league right now. And I've been in the league for 6 years, whatever it is now, 5-6 years. But, I think that's the general sentiment, is that people around the league are just generally happy that this is in the light now and that's been being exposed, because we've all known about it for a while.
Yeah. Last question, because we're getting the wrap-up sign over here. Do you think that more teams will get outed before this is all said and done?
I think more teams are doing something like this. I am not convinced that they'll be outed. It's such a black eye for baseball that I think the league office is going to try to keep anything else as quiet as possible.
Now. It's on the media now. If the media comes out and just has evidence against a certain team, the league has no choice but to investigate.
No doubt. And that's the only reason this happened, because these complaints and stuff have been being filed for a couple years up to this point. But because it went in the media and then there's a public scandal and they have to do something, I just don't know if the media is going to be able to get other players to say something, or other people that were intimately involved in those situations to say something on record where they can do the same thing with someone else.
All right, so we're going to have to finish this conversation in spring training, but check out the YouTube channel. Plug the YouTube channel, Twitter, Instagram.
Yeah, Bauer Outage on Twitter, Instagram, Trevor Bauer on YouTube. Also, watch Momentum.
The shit that you guys are doing is awesome. Like the video that you did with Clev, awesome. Like that's the type of stuff that gets baseball fans to like invest their time in, like, beyond just their team. Like you start to gravitate towards these other players and other markets. That's how you create baseball fans outside of just like a regional sport.
That's the whole goal. Being in the clubhouse, there's so many different personalities, and great personalities, hilarious personalities that baseball fans should be exposed to and should know more about than they do. And that's what we're trying to do with the company, with Momentum. We're trying to get those stories out there and get more personality in the game, help attract some younger fans and save the missing generation of baseball.
Trevor Bauer, to be continued. We'll see you in spring training.